Why is he throwing? No, he's right, Chad. That's a good ass answer. I told you, this is like one of the few places where like Brandon has been uncompromising. He's just like, shut the yeah, no, you're gonna get infrastructure spending and you're gonna like it. Like, suck my
with Elon Musk, and in that conversation, he accused Vice President Harris of running a, quote, completely fraudulent campaign, and that she has flip-flopped on many of the major issues. Karl Rove, of course, knows a thing or two.
Brother, he called you a Putin apologist. He ain't a friend. Wait, why do you guys know so much about Tim Miller? He said I'm a Putin apologist? Why does he know who the f I am? That's number one. Like, that I don't understand. I just searched his name and yours on Google. So he has said nice things about you. First thing that pops up. His kids probably watches you, my guess. No, isn't he like dumb chatter gossip? He called me a Putin apologist. He's brain broken. Actually brain broken. He's frequently on Brian Taylor Cohen's channel. Let me tell you, Brian Taylor Cohen's never called me a Putin apologist. I thought, yeah, he's in the Pod Save universe. That's so funny.
About making an opponent pay
Biden
for
claims Harris isn't as
flip-flops.
far left as some people believe. Oh, God. Oh, my God. The demons are back. Okay. Also called you a 30-year-old smoke show socialist gamer who once complimented the Mujahideen warriors for Dan Crenshaw. Okay, that one is not, like, he's not the worst for that one. That one is, like, it's fine. He literally looks like Kyle Rittenhouse aged. Oh, God. Here's Joe Rogan on Kamala Harris.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's a problem. And I don't think they thought she was going to be able to do that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You can fucking coach somebody, bro. It ain't hard. I mean, maybe she just practiced.
Who are these coaches? Just public speakers and stuff?
Oh, yeah, public speaking coaches. Yeah, there's political speech analysts. There's people that
Imagine if there's
teach
comedians.
people how
What
to
if David
teach.
Lucas gets hired to give her like some one-liners?
Listen.
I mean, there's a crazy world where there's like that, where there's somebody goes, you need a couple zingers in your back pocket. I don't know.
100%.
Because if that's not your world and your brain doesn't operate like that, Trump's does. Trump is looking at like, you know, to make a little put down or he's just quick in that way.
Listen,
so,
he is quick in that way. Also, it would behoove him to hire a few great comics to just tour with him and just write one-liners about all these different people.
I mean,
if he could remember them, I mean, I know he likes to go off his own head, but
Sure.
if he could remember a few Hinchcliffe bangers, if he hires Hinchcliffe to take him on the road, do you know how insane that would be?
Yeah, dude.
Hinchcliffe writing bangers for Trump. There's people.
Comedy cures, and it also is like sometimes what kind of just pushes.
I'm not kidding when I say this. Donald Trump is organically funnier than Tony Hinchcliffe. Please forgive me, but the other day I made a fatal mistake and told me that the cheapest ticket to the Kamala fundraiser at the Fairmont, San Francisco, was 500 grand. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and that was the most expensive, and the cheapest was 3,300. Please forgive me and don't make me dress up as a cop so you can suck my. Okay, first of all, we know that that's not the case because Megaphonics was actually in the chat because he attended the Kamala Harris Fairmont, the Kamala Harris Fairmont fundraiser. He attended by giving 500 grand to Kamala Harris's campaign individually, personally. That is the truth. You have a 10-hour flight. Where are you sitting? I got put up on the Joe Rogan subreddit. Oh God, I don't want to even see it. Yeah, Megaphonics did that, by the way. He did. He attended the fundraiser because he's that flipped up with 500 fans, okay? 500 bands. That's how lived up this man is, dude. Think about that. And then he tried to silence me. By gifting subs at the top of the hour. The amount of subs he gifted was 5. Only 5 people were allowed to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Thinking that that's going to be enough to buy my silence, dude. Get out of here. Yeah, Libophonics, dude. Blue Magaphonics. Here's a 3-minute ad break now, by the way, for all of you. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Felix is going to be here soon, I think. He just texted me. Oh, he is here. He's not just going to be here soon. He is here. Shit, I'm still eating. Anyway. Did you listen to the new Chaba with Jeff Stein on sanctions?
This thing's over the top, dude.
The thing you're getting from him is no one is coaching him. Right? You know he's going off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know nobody gets to tell him what to do. When he goes out there and he talks about things, it's like he's just off the cuff. Off the cuff. And that's why it gets sideways sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it gets a little fumbly sometimes. But what I'm saying is that what she did was like a pro. She did that like a pro.
Yeah.
That's where it gets dangerous. Because
You don't think that was calculated? You think that was off the cuff, like just responding to what was? Yeah.
No, that was a 100% planned out thing.
Yeah.
100% and well executed.
Yeah.
Like she nailed it.
Yeah.
Tony Hinchcliffe is not funny. Okay. Donald Trump is significantly funnier than Tony Hinchcliffe. That's crazy. Quick, fun TikTok drama.
What is this?
Sarah?
What? Yeah, we're gonna do Grok AI filter having no. We're gonna do Grok AI having no filter now that Felix is here. But I gotta finish my food first before I bring Felix on. So Biden claims Harris isn't as far left as some people believe. Let's hear what
long-held issues. President George W. Bush called Rove the architect of his campaign against John Kerry. First to senior White House correspondent Peter Ducey reporting live from the North Lawn. Hello, Peter.
Martha, good afternoon. We had a chance to check in with President Biden on his way down to New Orleans, and he is now claiming that Vice President Harris is not nearly as far to the left as her own personal platform in 2020 would suggest. Impressive is Vice President Harris than you as a candidate in the general?
The issues we've worked on together have made great progress economically. No one calls what we did on infrastructure progressive. It's a good policy.
And we have reached out to the campaign today.
That's my goat. That's my goat. He's a jerk, but that's my goat on econ. Why is he throwing? No, he's right, Chad. Shut the fuck. That's a good ass answer. I told you, this is like one of the few places where like Brandon has been uncompromising. He's just like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, no, you're going to get infrastructure spending and you're going to like it. Like, suck my dick. He literally did that all the time. Every time. Yo, Felix, let me finish this real quick. I'm about to finish the food. And what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm saying I'm eating right now. I'm about to be done. Okay. And then I'll receive you. Good response, Joe, but douchey slanted is so bad. Who gives a douchey?
They clarified that on Medicare for All, for example, she no longer supports it, even though she did back in 2020. But it doesn't seem like Harris aides think she needs to explain herself anytime soon, which means that tape about her talking healthcare or the border and defending ICE, and the list goes on, is all old as opposed to something that could advance her campaign in 2024.
Just because she doesn't have an interview scheduled on her public schedule doesn't mean that she's not taking her message directly to voters.
Kamala.
There is 0% chance it would ever happen, but can you imagine if Kamala Harris ran on expanding Medicare? Like, there's no way. If she just somehow flipped it and was like, I'm actually pro Medicare for all again, I don't know what would happen. I would lose my mind. Do you think talking to no media is a mistake or no? I mean, she's going to keep holding out for as long as she can. You want to get in.
I want to bring in MSNBC.
Harris's future economic policies need enough meat on the bones for voters before the DNC, says Tim Miller.
The political analyst Tim Miller, who's worked on Jeb Bush's 2016 campaign and hosts the Bulwark podcast, and Robbie Mook, Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager and currently president of the House Majority PAC. Robbie, how tricky will it be for Vice President Harris to remain part of this administration and appear with the president and then try to split with him and his policies literally the next day?
Well, I don't think it's quite as black and white as that. I mean, she is her own person. She worked with the president, but she has her own plan for the future. And I think at the end of the day, the contest in this race is about which candidate has a plan for the future, which candidate do voters feel can bring us into a better future. And the problem that Donald Trump has had all along is he has a pretty icky past. His time in the White House was full of instability, recklessness. We all remember him talking about drinking bleach to cure COVID. And so Harris has this incredible opportunity to have all the advantages of incumbency, right? She walked into a campaign with a big bank account, staff, people out in states, all the things ready to go. But I think the voters are willing to hear her out and let her chart her own course. And that's both an opportunity, but it's also a challenge. She's got to go get that done. I think the time to do that is running out, but this is the perfect time to unveil those policies as she goes into the convention.
Tim, I want to read for you part of what the New York Times said today about Vice President Harris's plan going forward. The Times reports she will lay out an approach relatively light on details. It will shift emphasis from Mr. Biden's focus on job creation and made in America manufacturing and toward efforts to rein in the cost of living. But it will rarely break from Mr. Biden on substance. That strategy reflects the advice economic aides have given Ms. Harris to be clear and bold in talking about the economy, but not overly specific. Tim, what do you make of that strategy? And is this the kind of plan you think she can ride for another 12 weeks?
It's only 12 weeks, right? And so I do think that's an opportunity for her.
Tim shouted you out the other day, said people should suggest someone like you to their brain-broken incel friends or family falling down the right-wing hysteria path. Wait, really? Not Tim Pool. He's talking about
her, in addition to being a challenge, right? There's fewer time for, having to deal with having different challenges. Had she gone through a primary, other Democratic challengers trying to poke holes in plans, et cetera. I think a lot of times Democrats traditionally have gotten a little too bogged down in plans and white papers, and Republican campaigns have been a little bit better about being breezier on details and focusing on thematics. Whether that's right or wrong, it is something that tends to help in a campaign setting. And so I think that she can. I think that the challenge, just listen to Robbie talk, is she's got to talk about the future. There has to be enough meat on the bones for what is the plan for the future? How are we going to reduce costs, either at the grocery store, in housing? I noticed in her first ad, she mentioned reducing housing costs, which I think is really smart. That's an issue that a lot of people are dealing with right now. And then Donald Trump on the other side, he's going to wants her to carry all the baggage that was keeping Biden's numbers down on this. And so I think that will be the push and pull between the campaigns, with her talking about how she's not going back and Trump doing his best in between his weird tangents to try to, make her carry the Biden baggage on economic issues, particularly inflation.
Guys, stay with me. NBC's Dasha Burns is joining us in Asheville, North Carolina, the site of Trump's afternoon rally. And so, Dasha, what's Trump going to say today? What's his economic message to the country?
Well, look, Anna, you could see his visit to a state like North Carolina as playing a bit of defense, given this has been a Republican stronghold for the last few elections. He won here in both 2016 and in 2020. But as Harris is trying to open the aperture, widen the map for Democrats in states like North Carolina, in states like Georgia, that were seen as kind of out of play for Democrats when President Biden was at the top of the ticket, the Trump campaign will say they're not taking any states.
The fuck?
In states like Georgia that were seen as kind of out of play for Democrats, but last few as. Well, look, Anna, you could see his visit to a state like North Carolina as playing a bit of defense, given this has been a Republican stronghold for the last few elections. He won here in both 2016 and in 2020. But as Harris is trying to open the aperture, widen the map for Democrats in states like North Carolina, in states like Georgia that were seen as for Democrats when President Biden was at the top of the ticket, the Trump.
It was the video. So what was that?
Campaign will say they're not taking any states, any votes for granted, and he's here to deliver a message on the economy. This is a state that has had a Republican legislature as well, mostly Republican-held positions across the state, with the exception of Governor Roy Cooper, who is a Democrat. But the Trump campaign will say, look, a lot of businesses in North Carolina are booming in places like Raleigh and places like Charlotte, and he will say that that is a result of Republican policies. He knows that right now, for now, he's still polling better than Democrats, than Harris, than certainly better than Biden on the economy. Harris trying to chip away at that, but he's going to try to deliver that message and contrast what he could do on the economy versus his opponent. The question is, this is what the campaign wants him to do, what he theoretically wants to do, but what the plan is for the message today and what the actual execution looks like with former President Trump, you never know how aligned those will be. Just this morning, he was asked about some of the talking points lately that his campaign is not so thrilled about, him questioning the size of Kamala Harris's crowds, for example, other conspiracies around a coup of President Biden. Take a listen to what he said as he was voting early in West Palm Beach this morning.
We have the biggest crowds ever in the history of politics. We have crowds that nobody's ever seen before, and we continue to have that. We have a level of enthusiasm that nobody's seen before. They want to make America great again. That's what's happening. We're going to make it great again. Right now, we have a failing nation. We're in a failing nation and become in many ways a third world nation, and we're not going to let that happen.
And Anna, you've heard his allies, people like Kellyanne Conway, like Vivek Ramaswamy, like Nikki Haley, who of course was an opponent but now has endorsed him, go on television in the last few days and say you are not going to win if you're talking about crowd sizes, if you're talking about race, if you're launching these personal attacks on Harris. Talk about her record, tie her to President Biden. That is the more successful path forward. The question,
dude, Nikki Haley, once again, the underrated star that Republicans are too silly to actually vote for. She's just right. Like I said this in the primary too. She was right when she was like, yo, the Republicans need to chill the f out about this like abortion. What are you doing? It's so funny. It's so funny that people just like simply don't consider her at all because, you know, she's just not exactly charismatic. She's, you know, she's a loser in the Republican sense, but her instincts are sound.
Question is, how much will that message resonate with the guy that is control of the message, is in control of the message, former President Trump on it?
Dasha Burns reporting for us. Thank you. So President Biden made some news just a few minutes ago when he dropped.
Yeah, she said whichever party drops their 80-year-old candidate first would win. That's what she said. I mean, obviously it was self-serving, but.
By the White House Creator Economy Conference and was asked about inflation. Here's what he said.
Has the U.S. beat inflation, Mr. President?
Yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working. Start right in that way, okay?
And Mr. President,
anyway, thank you
so
much. Thank you so much. We got to move this way, Gabe.
Mr. President, did you know your son reached out to you?
Robbie, what do you make of the president essentially declaring victory here?
Well, the number, I'm not an economist, obviously. The numbers speak for themselves, and they are good. But I think the election is going to be very divorced from economic figures. Obviously, the stock market doesn't represent the economy. And although inflation is coming down, the pain of inflation is still going to be very present in people's lives. You know, when I'm out talking to people, or you can look at it in a focus group, people talk about how things are just a lot more expensive than they used to be 5 years ago. And what's really encouraging to me is to see that Harris is actively going to take that on. It's hard for a president to go out and immediately lower prices. That's not how our country works. That's not how our economy works. But I do believe both candidates need to present a credible plan for a way that they could try to get prices lower. And I think this is actually, I totally agree with Tim's point that I think Democrats tend to get in the weeds and want to do our fancy white papers. But I think this is actually a place where Trump's flippant attitude and his lack of detail is probably to his detriment, because when he says, you know, by tomorrow I'll make everything, you know, 10% cheaper, it's just not credible. And so I'm interested to see what he says today and, you know, see how these dueling plans match.
No, it is actually the best way to talk about it, because it causes people to hear what they want to hear. Like, if I liked Donald Trump even a little bit and I heard him talk about prices and I was going to cut him in half, I'd be like, oh, sick. Even I was like, is he saying he's going to institute price controls? Like, it sounded like it. He ain't going to do that, obviously, but still, it didn't stop him from sounding like he was going to do that.
Match up.
And again, the numbers just this morning, 2.9% inflation, the lowest we've seen in the last 3 years, 3.6% wage growth. So people are earning more than they're having to pay for some of these items. Tim, is it enough for Trump to just channel Ronald Reagan and ask voters if they're better off than they were 4 years ago?
Not really, because we were all locked in our rooms 4 years ago. So, you know, are you better off than you were 5 years ago? Doesn't have quite the same ring to it. So I don't think so. He has offered some specificity on his plan, and that is a hugely inflationary.
Don't worry, chatters. It's coming. And you're going to complain about how my mic is peaking. I never want to hear from ever again about how my mic is peaking, because it's going to peak. It's going to peak, and I don't care. Sorry, you asked for it. You're going to get it. Okay? That's it.
Tariff on everything. So, and that's what I'm going to be looking at today. Is he going to continue with his protectionist tariff policy? And I think that would give an opportunity to the Harris campaign on Friday to talk about how he actually would increase prices with his plans, and, you know, potentially have an olive branch out to my people, kind of the free market Republicans who don't like former Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, who are going to be key swing voters in North Carolina and in Georgia. So I think that's something to watch for on the economic side as well.
Tim Miller and Robbie Mook, please stay with us.
I don't want to disrespect Tim Miller because he was like saying nice things about me apparently, but like I wouldn't consider Jeb Bush's guy nor Robbie Mook to be two people that understand how to win elections. I'm just saying.
You all understand that you have an obligation to record what you think is true and say what you think is true. But we, we've sort of divided into.
I just want to say once again that I was right and I was always right and I will never be wrong. Oh my God. Fox has Trump +1 in the head-to-head nationwide. That is his best poll result in a while. But here's some other information that came out from it. Wallace is the only candidate with a net positive rating as 41% view him favorably and 39% unfavorably, while 16% say they've never heard of him. Vance is underwater by 13 points, and 9% are unfamiliar with him. Twice as many Republicans have a negative view of Vance than Democrats have of Walz. Just saying. What a solid pick that was, huh? Now remember all the people that were like, no. It's got to be Shapiro. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. I need to know who Trump's makeup artist is, that they can get him under the wig. I don't know. That's a random thing to care about. My food is almost here, chat. I'm just getting ready. Anyway, let's continue. I'm looking for a job. Biden jokes with influencers of the White House conference. Yeah, he is.
Competing camps is. Now I know I only look like I'm 40. You can smile. Okay. But I've been around a long time. And it's never been this bad before. I don't mean the press. I mean the way we treat each other in politics. And it's literally getting incredibly difficult to count the number of lies people hear. They don't know what to believe. They don't know what to count on. But you break through. You break through in ways that I think are going to change the entire dynamic of the way in which we communicate. And that's why I invited you to the White House. Because
why the f wasn't I invited, bro? I'm a goddamn influencer. I cover politics. How come I wasn't invited? Who was invited to this? I mean, I don't think I would go, but still. What the hell is this about? The future is now? Oh, that would be so sick. Yeah, they brought up Brooklyn Dad Defiant. Is he literally talking to random YouTube, Twitch, and TikTokers right now? That's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know. You wouldn't go to the White House if invited, Cap? It depends. People have brought it up before. People have brought that up before, and I would much rather talk to like Sean Fain or someone from the NLRB than someone like Joseph Robin and Brandon. Bro, you were? Check your email. Shut up.
I'm looking for a job.
Thanks for watching. Stay.
Got a lot more to get to, including a new look at the state of the nation's economy. Key data on inflation was just released this morning, and it was better than expected, showing a slight cooling in the month of July. Here to break down the numbers and what it means for your money, NBC's senior business correspondent, Christine Romans. Hey, Christine, morning.
Annual inflation of 2.9%. That is the coolest in 3 years. And when you strip out volatile food and energy, also the coolest, the lowest inflation reading in about 3 years. This is good news. It shows you in food categories, about half the food categories actually fell from June to July. Half of them went up a little bit. But overall, you're seeing that price pain of a couple of years ago has certainly faded. And that could allow the Fed, the Federal Reserve, to go ahead and start cutting interest rates later this fall. That would be a real sea change for American family finances. Those lower interest rates would mean lower borrowing costs for a mortgage, for a new home, on credit card debt. So we're entering kind of a new period of the inflation fight. After 3 years of price pain, you're starting to see some relief here, 2.9%. When you look inside some of these categories, energy prices basically moving sideways, food at home prices moving sideways. You can also see what we've been calling the summer of value in these numbers. A lot of companies have been cutting their prices on food to try to get you to come back, and it looks like it worked. You can see those in these numbers. So again, a cool inflation reading allows the Fed maybe to start cutting rates soon, guys.
Thank you, Christine.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't